What would you say is different about launching and commercializing an RNAi drug versus other more established drug modalities? And I'm thinking, we had a short call just to prepare for this
Yeah.
podcast, Tolga, and one of the things that came up was this kind of I don't know if I want to call it inertia, but a comfort level or a resistance to change that you might sometimes encounter
Yeah.
with prescribers. And I'm curious, I guess first, what's different, what you would say about what's different about commercializing, launching an RNAi drug, but also how you bring such a new modality to physicians and overcome, some of those kinds of resistance to change that they might present.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I find it to be honest as an opportunity. I think we talked about Eliquis and how, at the time we had head-to-head data both on the primary endpoints like, stroke prevention and risk reduction and safety versus Coumadin, which is a 50-year-old product that's been out there for blood thinners, for blood thinning. And essentially, even though you had a head-to-head trial that showed superiority versus Coumadin in both on primary endpoints as well as on safety, doctors were not willing to make the change. They all felt like, they were able to control the patient's bleeding, which was not an easy dosing, and you had to get liver enzyme tests and everything. And that took us a while. So there's, I guess, an inherent condition in all of us, and also with doctors, to be a little skeptical about new treatment options. What's so great about, I think, what Alnylam provides and allows us to rethink is the fact that you can literally do a subcutaneous injection every 3 months to, lessen the hypercholesteremia. One of our products is right now being marketed by Novartis. It's so Novartis, the product named Leqvio. So that is, I see that the numbers are picking up. That is exactly the example where how doctors tend to resist. Now, I find that actually also gives us an opportunity to completely rethink how medicine is practiced. We're currently working on a product called zilebesiran that is subcutaneous in the injection every 6 months. That potentially lowers systolic blood pressure. Now, we have several highly effective medicines that are out there that lowers blood pressure, and they're inexpensive. Yet, for any account, there is about 20 million Americans that suffer uncontrolled blood pressure that results in stroke and other significant consequences of blood pressure. So why is that? Well, one of the answers is actually probably patients are not taking their medicines every day. Once a day pill or twice a day pill, as simple as it is, now I'm that age where I'm taking some of those medicines. I can tell you I miss them and I know what the consequences are. So bringing a medicine that is highly effective and safe, and with a simple subcutaneous injection that you visit your doctor or a nurse comes in your home and injects you, opens up a whole set of opportunities. And that really excites me because commercializing a new technology in that respect is really, really, I think, advantageous. But it's going to require us to also challenge ourselves to see how we actually bring some of those opportunities in mind. Now, the other plus I think that we have that maybe amazing gene therapy options are actually struggling is we're not one and done. We're not actually required to change how we get reimbursed. Actually, we fit nicely into the reimbursement structure that is currently set for medicines that are taken regularly. We don't need to actually price our disease as one and done, which actually gives us some advantages to actually work within the existing reimbursement system. And those are, I would say, actually, it's not going to require us to change. But at the same time, these treatment regimens that are actually infrequent and simple with a subcutaneous injection may give us a sort of an opportunity to force the healthcare system to rethink how medicine is practiced.
That brings to mind for me a key commercial issue that I wonder if I'm sure some of our listeners for the business of biotech will know about this. Others may not, though, which is the gross to net issue. And I noticed in Alnylam's fourth quarter and 2024 earnings report that there were some positive gross to net adjustments made in the US during the fourth quarter. And I wonder, Tolga, would you mind just giving a brief, very high level explanation of what gross to net is?
Yeah, essentially, it's the your product's revenue minus minus essentially your royalties and rebates and cost of goods. So that's how gross to net is adjusted. And look, I mean, I think it's a question of, for a company that is destined to change how medicine is practiced, we need to continue to force ourselves and our organization how our cost of goods is actually continue to be brought down. And this is an area where obviously we're not a biologic. We're also not a small molecule. Our manufacturing is complex and it's not cheap, but we certainly believe, unlike a gene therapy cost or even a biologic cost, we have an opportunity to actually to continue to further reduce cost. Our CEO, Ivan, has this vision of democratizing RNAi, meaning try to manufacture it as inexpensively as possible so we can actually make it available not just in the US, but in other markets where cost is even a bigger sensitivity. And we're trying to obviously make that happen. Now, specific to the Q4 results, there's always going to be ins and outs, how those rebates are actualized. There's some also timing of some of those, rebates, how they're actually being recognized. So I wouldn't necessarily pay too much attention to sort of quarterly changes. What's really helpful is to look at the annual metrics, and those obviously metrics will also continue to evolve.
Right. And just for the benefit of our listeners, gross to net, gross obviously meaning what the product is sold for, net is what you're actually making on the product. And a lot of times the criticism of this so-called gross to net bubble has to do with rebates. Now, Tolga, you're reducing the cost of goods. So that's an excellent way to improve gross to net. And, similarly, fixing the compliance issue, which, I've been a journalist covering biopharmaceuticals for close to 15 years. And for a while there, it seemed like once a year I'd write the adherence and compliance article, and somebody had a new idea about how to improve it. It never improved. It's an ongoing challenge. But, when you have a shot that you can give over a course of months, you're taking yourself out of that compliance quandary. Similarly, with lowering the cost of goods, you're setting yourself up for success in gross to net, at least in terms of things you can manage.
No, you're spot on, Ben, because I mean, look, just like you, over the years, when I worked especially on tablets, both the industry as well as like pharmacists, I've seen pharmacists actually have these devices that every time you open the pill tab, it would actually send a message whether you're compliant or not. So the whole industry has been working around this issue around tablet. And we haven't found anything, because I think inherently taking a pill every day or twice a day is not a normal human condition. Now, again, there are people who are incredibly adherent, but even in oncology, we see adherence rates as low as 70%. I mean, this is cancer. In more, sort of metabolic diseases, we see rates at 60%, 70%. So if we can actually solve this by simply how patients take their medicine every 3 months, every 6 months in physician office or a nurse practitioner visiting your home, I think we will go a long way, and I don't think we actually um, we can overestimate the human health impact that's going to be made on the patients. And if you look at our current products, our adherence rates are 90-95%, every category that we work on. So there's something obviously to be said about how our medicines are administered.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about a daily tablet and compliance to me is, you know, particularly maybe in disease areas like cholesterol or even diabetes, I think the one of the major challenges is that if you miss a dose, nothing really happens. There's no, you know, there's no consequence right away from missing a dose. It's a cumulative. It's, you know, it's taking it over a period
You're
of
spot
time
on.
and missing doses. And so when you don't, you know, you're not automatically feeling better because you took your cholesterol medicine on a given day, it makes it difficult to really incentivize.
You're spot on. And as an industry, I think we face two major hurdles. One is the physician complacency, because if and you can do this yourself, or those colleagues that are watching this should do that. If you ask any doctor in any therapy area whether their patients are actually adherent or and compliant, they'll say yes.
Of
Every one
course,
of them.
right.
So there is that, I think, issue. And then to your point, patients, yeah, if I miss my statin or hypertension, but again, I'm giving you some numbers, even in cancer, where patients actually don't take their medicine, or maybe they need a caregiver that needs to do that, and they don't have the socioeconomic, setup to be able to do that. And we see it mostly on pediatric patients. And if the caregiver is, less educated, or a single parent that's working, those compliance rates tend to go down. So this is an area where I think we need to continue to work as an industry. And one solution is obviously come up with better medicines that are taken less frequently.